Hello, welcome to the Woe Factor cast, where we put the woe in women. My name is Holly Hartman, and I'll be your host for today. I am the CMO and the co-founder of the Woe Network. And today we're creating the Woe Factor effect, where women are transforming the business world. And today, my amazing guest is Andrea Allen, and she's a part of Healthier You and Me LLC. And so, Andrea, thank you so much for being on today. So glad that you're here. Would love for you to, and all the listeners that are here, thank you for being here. First off, Andrea, let them know a little bit about you. And then if you'd like to share a little bit about your business and how you came into what you're doing.
Absolutely. And Holly, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. We've always had this great energy with each other. I love your energy. So I'm very grateful to be able to have this time with you. It's funny because when I started in this business, this was not really technically an industry. It's a $7 billion a year industry currently, and steady projected to increase and to continue to grow. And so, when I went to college, there was not like a health coaching degree or anything like that. It wasn't on my radar at all. But as so many of us come into our full passions, it's actually sometimes a need that we have ourselves, that we find ourselves in. We find a solution and we want to share it with other people. And so, after having 4 children, living in the drama triangle, not getting enough sleep, making some really amazing Nestle toast. I'm a great baker, by the way, guys. I love, all the things. And I found myself after the birth of my youngest daughter, with one morning I woke up and had debilitating arthritis and went through 6 months of different doctors and then finally being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. I had no idea about autoimmune disease, and now I'm highly educated, as we all are. Again, you don't know anything about it until you're actually forced into that. And so, when I asked the doctor when she diagnosed me, a beautiful woman, and I said, "Well, how do I fix this?" Because I'm more of a let's get to the root of the problem kind of person. She said, "Well, honey, you just need to eat better and get more rest." And I was like, "I haven't slept in 6 months. That's why I came to see you." So again, a huge need in my life. And I went home, and I would love to say I like magically figured it out, but I didn't. I was like in the valley, in the desert for like 6 years, where actually I lost weight. I was depressed. I didn't sleep longer than an hour at a time for 6 years. I was fully just I mean, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I was debilitated, like physically debilitated, and in survival mode every single day. And I know a lot of moms like that. That was me. I was you. And so it wasn't until about 6 years later, because I would try and then I would give up because I couldn't find a solution. And then it's almost, and with autoimmune, it's almost like it's too much to hope that you're going to find a solution after trying so many times, because, the doctors will say, "Oh, there's really nothing else wrong with you." And I got tired of hearing that. I wanted to find a solution. And I know so many people struggle when they hear that as well. So it's hard to hope. And so, fast forward about 6 years later, I'm on a mountain in Maine with my husband and my kids, and they're like billy goats. They're taking off. I'm 38 years old. This was most of my 30s. I'm 38 years old, and I should be able to keep up with them. And I just remember like having just a breakdown moment. Like, this isn't my life. This can't be it. It was like I woke up after a long time, and I went home and I thought, all right, what can I control? Like, that's what we have to get down to, just base questions. What can I control? I can control what goes into my body. I needed help because I'd read a lot of books. I was on like, I don't know if anybody's ever been on like mental and emotional overwhelm trying to fix a problem, and you just don't know what the solution is. And I watched some friends of mine do this particular program. And what I saw was, number one, reduction of obesity related medications. I can't really make that claim, but when you have lifestyle changes, here's my disclaimer: when you make lifestyle changes, then you're going to see things improve in all areas of your life. But I saw more energy, happiness, like just wanting to get up and live every day. And I'm like, I want that. Like, have you ever seen anything? And it's like, I want that. And because I trusted them, I thought I'm just going to like learn how to cook better so I don't kill everybody with the food that I'm cooking. And then I just want to like reduce inflammation, not reduce inflammation, but just take pressure off my joints. Because for every 1 pound you lose, that's 4 pounds of pressure off your joints. It helps. I've done enough research to know that. So with very little expectation, let's preface it with that, of anything happening other than just losing some weight. I started on this program in August of 2012, many, many years ago. And so for me, it only took about 8 days. And all I did was eat the food, drink the water, and, fall into some better habits. And I woke up on a Tuesday morning in tears because all that inflammation had resolved itself, and I slept through the night for the first time in 6 years, and I thought, "What is this? Like, what is this craziness?" And so, I had no idea. I mean, come on, when we step into a new arena, we really don't know what we're doing. So I was ready and open and willing to learn all that I could about this. So I started coaching shortly after that because I knew a lot of sick people and I just wanted to help every single person that I possibly could. I didn't want anybody to feel that way anymore. And so my heart and my passion was to serve people who have inflammation, have more energy, get to sleep. Does anybody struggle with sleep? Oh my gosh, yes. And and just have a higher quality of life. My kids got their mom back. My husband got his wife, a whole different wife back, I'm going to tell you. And I was able to do all the community outreach. Not that I wasn't doing it before, but I was just barely doing it, again, in survival mode. And to become the person that I know that I was called to be. So that's what I'm passionate about. That's how I entered the space. It's almost on accident. And I think a lot of times we find our purpose on accident. But I wouldn't be anywhere else. This is where my heart is.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. You brought up a lot of memories. This is a program that I actually did in 2018 too. And I remember where I was when I was like, okay, God, I need help and I need somebody to create a structure for me because I don't know, like, I don't want to think about it. I was so overwhelmed and so exhausted. Mine comes from a relationship that was abusive. So I was in survival mode and there was no being able to think, what can I do to move through this? I just knew I needed help. And I saw a friend post about the experience and got to see her change. And I'm like, whatever that is, yes. And me personally had amazing results from it as well. And all the shifts that you're talking about, I remember after several months in the program, I look back and go, it wouldn't have mattered if I lost weight or not. Everything
Right.
else that I
Who
gained,
cares, right? That was
everything
just
else.
like icing on the cake.
Yeah, it really was like, but that was the gateway for me to look at it
Yes.
for me. But to look at it going, oh my gosh, the energy, the sleep, the patience with my children,
Yes.
to be able to show up in a way that I was not able to do before that moment. So like it's life giving. It's not
Yes.
just health, and our health is our wealth. Like if
Right.
we don't have our health, we really can't function in this world. And so we're talking to women business leaders. We're talking to
Yes.
women business professionals. We understand burnout is real. So it's not just um, what we have to do is shift our habits, right? And so I know a lot of what your program teaches is habits. So do you mind if we unpack a little bit more about that?
Let's do
Like
it.
for the women business professionals that are listening, going, okay, I want those things too, but we have to create habits and structure. So maybe what would you say to somebody that is in this spot and they know that they need to create these things?
So, number one, if you're on information overload, like connect with somebody who, with me or with somebody that is already have found success in this and then they know what they're talking about, okay? Because I'm a coach. I need coaches in all areas of my life. I readily accept that I am better with those. So find somebody who can guide you with a singular structure and purpose. I think that overwhelm with all the information that I had acquired caused me not to do anything. It stalled me out. And so find someone that can help you develop the structure and the habits that you need, and that's going to support you on that in the good times and the bad times. And I think that's one of my favorite things about coaching, is to be able to help uncover, like, if you get stuck, you're going to get stuck. All right. Like, we're going to hit a wall. We are. And I'm not talking about with weight loss. I'm talking about with mental and emotional things, why you feel like this is your value, basically. And that's where we get to, is a value base. And like, this is all I feel I'm worth or worthy. And we're not saying that out loud, but that's what it is. And so we've got to kind of unpack that and see where that's at and see what the language is. And so find someone that, that you trust, that you can partner with, and that can set you up in a successful, healthy structure.
Love that. Love that you also shared that plateau. I think a
Yes.
lot of people get discouraged and they feel shame or guilt, and then they want to stop themselves from moving forward, because the reality is we will plateau at certain points. And this doesn't matter if it's your health or if you're learning new business stuff or whatever it is, whatever program. We often shame ourselves and stop. But just if you come into this place of knowing, well, that's completely normal.
Right.
The majority of the people experience that. Then you go, oh, okay, this is just that plateau that they told me about. And I'm going to lean into my support and we'll get through it. And I've seen that in this program that you're talking about, and I've seen it with lots of others. So I love that you touched on how coaches just in general can help you through that we need support. We need each other to move through these things. But even more so.
And I think, like, why don't we give ourselves grace in this area? It's almost like an all or nothing type of thing. No, we're just learning a new skill. If you can come to it with the fact that, I'm not going to say that you don't know everything, because you know a lot of things, right? But there's going to be times when when you're stuck. But am I open? Am I curious about learning why I'm here? Is it okay? And there'll be weeks, like, I'll talk to my clients and I'm like, okay, this week, I don't even care if you do that behavior, but let's just, like, can you write out, like, why you feel like you're doing that? What is the emotion, or what is it that's causing you to feel this way? What are the thoughts that are going through your head? This week, we're not trying to fix the problem. We're just trying to get open and curious about why we do this.
I love that. Yeah, observation. That's a big helpful tool in coaching, is just observing. We don't have to judge it. We just observe.
Right.
And I think that coming from a place of curiosity and not judgment, it shifts the energy and it allows you to keep moving forward. So I love that you support your clients in that, how powerful that is, to create a safe container for them to be able to do that and to model that behavior. Maybe can you tell maybe a time, and this wasn't one of the questions I shared with you, but a plateau that you experienced and maybe how you overcome it?
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, even like either financially or with my business. So I love what we do. I would do it for free. I'm not going to lie, because I love seeing the light go on for people. But I got to a point in my business where I was making so much money. And just like with my eating habits, I did not have a good financial money mindset. All right. I am the very creative and flighty, not originally, like, I didn't have a lot of structure. And I actually went to the co-founder of our company and I'm like, dude, so, you always ask this question. So many people who came in here because they want to help people, and half the room raise their hand. The other people are like entrepreneurs. They got all these skill sets already. All these people that just want to help people, like, they suck at money. Okay. And so, I mean, I literally was afraid to make more money because I thought, I'm just going to be more in debt, like at a higher level. And so I spent about a year literally working on, and I mean, and I'm doing it again this year. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. It's always like coming back around, like, okay, I'm here. Let's go to the next level. And so, why am I afraid to do that? Or why am I, what's the concern? What's the thought there? And so, like, we have to deal with those things. And that was a very prevalent one in my business. And it just shot up after I kind of, but I spent some time on it. All right. I did some work, and it's time to do it again.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're sensing that a lot of these things that we experience are secular. like
Yes.
meaning that they will come back again. And sometimes people will shame them. Well, why is this coming up again? It's because you're ready to level up.
Yes.
It's a different experience. It may feel similar. Like I look at it as like a vortex that's going up and like where it feels similar because we're rotating back around, but we're actually leveled up.
Yes.
We're on a different staircase, a different level, and we have new tools. And I think
Yes.
that's what's beautiful about your program and the coaching that you shared is that there's tools that you get to pick up
Yes.
along the line. So, would you mind sharing a little bit about your experience using some of these tools in both your business and your own personal?
Absolutely. So we utilize a four component system. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but one of them, you get a coach. And my favorite part of is when I am communicating all these systems is like there might be a time you don't feel like talking to your coach. And you know what? That's when you need to talk to him the most.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, oh, maybe this isn't the best week to talk to them. No, this is the best week to talk to them. So we, utilize your coach. We have an education component. And again, I am working on not just feeding your body, but feeding your mind.
Mhm.
And when we get stuck, that's when we're going to go back to feeding the mind. So we use our education component. It's the Habits of Health Transformational System. Amazing. Lots of habit formation, development, awareness, all those key things that help us move us forward in all areas of our life. Community is a huge factor in our program, and I love our community. I feel like I could drive to any state and just say, "Hey, I'm part of this community," and they'd be like, "Hey, come in and stay with us. Like, just come, like, spend the night and hang out with us." And then our structured nutritional plans, I love because maybe you sense this as well, Holly. Is I was just at the point where I needed someone to tell me what to do. And I did, like, just show it to me and I'll do it. Like, I can do whatever you tell me to do. And so for me, that was super helpful. And I would love to say there's magic in all the things and all the food and stuff. There's not. It's just you're getting all the nutrition, vitamins, supplements, all the things in there. And so it's super great. And so I really love all the components and the things that help not just myself but my clients as well. And if they're ready to meet the challenge, there's nothing that can stop them from completing what they want to complete. And so I don't know if that answered your question
Oh,
actually.
absolutely. Well, what I remember about the program too is that the education isn't just like you said. It's not just food related
Right.
or weight related. It's a lot about our mental health. And I was so impressed by all the trainings that were available. I was like, oh my gosh, people are paying so much for this type of training, and I'm getting it here with this in community.
Yes.
And it's we need where they say what is it, surround yourself around the people that you surround yourself with, the
Yes.
five people are like most impactful. Well, they build that community out for that, and it's a part of what you get to do. And so
Yes.
those are really important factors for people trying to do this on their own.
Yeah.
And that's the pattern that I've seen with no matter what the situation is, if they keep in a pattern, typically they've tried to do it on their own. And
Mhm.
so whether it's health that you're struggling with or your financial health or whatever it is, like there are people out there that can support you, but we have to be open and vulnerable enough to go, I need help.
Yes.
This is where I'm at. And a lot of
Yes.
times we need coaches to take us through that. So I really appreciate you sharing those experiences and the structure that they can gain by being a participant in what you all do. Um, Something came to mind. So you focus on people that have autoimmune and pain and those kind of situations. Can you think of a client that you've worked with over your decade of doing coaching or more that maybe made an impact where like you really saw that shift in them? Do you mind sharing a little bit about their story and what your experience as a coach was with them?
Absolutely. It's actually a lady that I'm working with right now, and she's not necessarily in the autoimmune category, but I love it because we really focus on what you want to create for your future self. And oh my gosh, like, you know, ideal client, right? Like I wish everybody got it at this level, and everybody gets it at different levels. I'm not judging anybody or anything like that, but if you could like project out what you want to create for your future in all areas of your life, this lady's doing it. Like I get so excited every week, whether it was a perfect food week or not, because we're learning something about ourselves. We're learning about what we want to create for herself. and her future and her son. She's a single mom, and I am so excited about seeing what happens even post when I'm done working with her, because I know whatever she sets her mind to is gonna be done, because she is in process of working towards what she wants to create, not just here. And she's down like close to 100 pounds, and that's great. But the other shifts that I see in her is what I get more excited about, because I know whatever she sets her heart to and her mind to, she's going to succeed.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and I think so many people think that, "Oh, I don't wanna bother my coach. I don't wanna bother with this." They they help us too. Like that when we get to see that, you inspire us to continue and want to help people when we see people have that spark. And so what an amazing success story and an inspiration for you to
Yes.
also be able to lean into and ride in that energy. Because and that's why we do the Woe Factor, is we want to connect women that are rising together so we can hold this collective energy. And that's what you got with your client, is somebody that's wanting that and wanting to rise, and you get to like be a part of that momentum.
Yes.
And how amazing is that?
It's awesome. It's so great. I mean, who doesn't want to get paid to feel like this all the time?
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody wins. It's a
Yes.
win-win. And man, that's what I want in business. I want to work with people that there's a win-win for us
Yes.
all. So I love that. Let's talk about this. So, can you share any advice for any women that are thinking about maybe going into this line of business? Maybe what did you learn that you might have done different now that you have more expertise and more well, you know what I mean. I can't think of the
Yeah.
word.
So it's so much has changed since I started. I literally grew my business from 9 to 11 at night, which seems crazy. I know, like, social media had just kind of come out. It is so prevalent now. And I'm not saying all my business is off of, it's just an accelerator for sure of connection. But I think just really developing meaningful connections with people is going to be really important. I think if you have, if you're working to build like a team or anything like that, or working to build clients, that just kind of being in their world, like who's on your heart to serve. Is it somebody you want to spend time with? You know what I mean? Like, let's not pick people just because you like want to have an X number of clients or whatever. Let's pick people like you'd want to go on vacation with, right? That you want to have lasting, long, lifelong connection with, because you're going to also accelerate at a higher rate there versus like mass communication and just like we call it spray and pray, like at the beginning. But again, so much has changed since I started. And I look back at the people that have mentored me, and the guy who started our group literally stood in a kiosk in a mall and talked to people. And so when people are like, well, I don't really want to post about it, and I'm like, really? Like, this is the bare minimum, like what you want to do. So, number one, I would say be ready to be very uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and ready to learn and grow. Number two, I did a large thing on LinkedIn here recently, interviewing people, and there's so many people out there. Gosh, you guys have the knowledge for health and wellness, and you have the heart and the compassion, but you're lacking in the business building skills, or maybe you don't have the structure that you need. Lean into like Holly and Izzy, who do marketing. They have so many skills that you don't have, and they're all available to you. Talk to me. I would love to give you some guidance and counseling. And of course, I feel like in our program, the company that I work for does so much of that already for us. We have structure and everything. So my goal and my job literally is just to talk to people. Like, that's all I have to do. And so it makes it really easy for me. But for people who are, now getting certifications and doing all those different things, I see so many people paying thousands and thousands of dollars and then not doing anything with it. And for me, it makes me sad because I know your heart. I know you want to make an impact, but you're maybe lacking in a few skills. That's it. Like, don't say, well, I tried that and it didn't work. Like, you're just missing some skills. Like, if you can take the emotion out of it and just identify skills, like I try to do 2 to 3 skills I want to level up in each year. That's it. Like, not all of them at one time. It's too much.
Mhm.
And so, I've identified mine for this year. I'm going to work on those, because if we try to do too many things, we're not going to do anything well. So, this is going to take, it's a process. It's going to take time. Make sure you have structure, you have support and mentorship, somebody to talk to, and that I don't want to say the word balance, because that's kind of a joke, it isn't, it isn't, right, Holly? I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, I think balance is actually boundaries. It's more about
Yes.
healthy boundaries. And when
Yes.
you have healthy boundaries, you have balance.
Oh, yes. And I had 0 when I started. Let's just say that. I was still in the drama triangle and hadn't learned all those skills yet. And I was burnt. I would burn myself out and be exhausted. And like, is this worth it? Even though I was passionate about it, like, I'm thinking, is this really going to pay off? And it does when you set boundaries, all the different things. I think that was a perfect word, Holly.
Yeah. And you've talked a lot about the different boundaries that you've shared, like when you did your working and who
Yes.
the clients you want to work with. Those are all boundaries, and
Yes.
those are all legitimate, and that comes to our worth. When we
Yes.
feel our worth and we know our worth, then we're likely to actually follow through with our boundaries. And I love
Yes.
all of the fluidity that you talked about with tapping into your emotion. How do I actually feel? Because that's actually a driver to the actions that we have. And if we can uncover that, like, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling frustrated, resentful, stressed, overwhelmed, whatever that is, okay, then let's look at that root. And that starts to give us breadcrumbs to go, okay, that's where we heal. And then when we remove that block, then we get to move forward. But we'll keep doing that cycle, and that's okay. That's part of healing. We're never fully healed, but we get to learn these tools and then just duplicate it. But we need
Yes.
support. We need
Yes.
support.
Yes. Absolutely.
The amount of acceleration that you get when you invest in support, and it doesn't always have to be a financial support, investing time with somebody, a mentorship, whatever that looks like, when you do, you accelerate. So if you're getting burnout because you're trying to do it on your own, there are people willing to take your hand and lead you and guide you. And so I'm hoping that this is what the podcast does too,
Right.
is allowing you to hear from different leaders to go, hey, we got our hand here to mentor, to share, to let you know that you're not alone in this business, and that there are people out here that have skills that maybe you need, and we can connect each other together and level up. So I love all of what you
Yes.
shared there. So I like to ask all of my guests, what is one of their favorite books, or a book that's like impacted them recently, or how it's impacted their business? So what book inspires you recently?
So I have 2. One, since we're talking about habits, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. A couple of things in there like that hit me, and I mean, I've revisited it several times. I listen to audiobooks to preview whether I want to read the book. I don't know, because I have attention issues. Surprise. But if it's worth my time to like sit down and read. So that one, the big key thing in there for me was the example he gave about smokers, people who are trying to give up smoking. And, it's your language that tells you how you feel about that. Like, if you ask somebody, like, you want a cigarette, and they'll say, no, I'm trying to give up smoking, that means they still identify as a smoker. If they say, nope, I'm not a smoker anymore, and walk away, that's a whole different level of identity. And that made a huge impact on me probably 3 or 4 years ago. And I thought, that's it. It is about identity and worth, what you were talking about, your identity. And so that's so important. What do you identify as? Do you identify as a healthy person? Or do you identify as someone who's struggling or you're contending? Words are so powerful, guys, so powerful. And then the next one I really like is The 15 Commitments of a Conscious Leader by Jim Dethmer. And I'm super excited because I'll get to go hear him again. I've heard him previously, but really talking about being above the line and below the line.
Yes.
And that was a great, I'm a visual person. So all these examples are great for me to retain this information. I didn't have to go back and read it again. I got it the first time because it's visual. So like how you're feeling emotionally or how you respond, is it above the line or below the line? And I remember thinking, this is exhausting, like, cause I'm way below the line a lot.
Get that?
And and I check myself and I find that I've made progress, right? Like it's not about always being above the line. It's about identifying where you're at and like, okay, how can I respond differently the next time? And so that was super powerful for me. And our company, our culture, everything is based a lot off of his teachings. And so I'm really, really excited to hear what he has to say again coming up at our training, which is amazing. We have amazing training.
Love
And
that.
we have access to amazing people. Like I'm always so honored, like at the people we get to hear. So
Yeah, no, I love that. I think the first time we actually met in person was at one of those conferences, and I'm like, we live in the same town, and we're just now
I know,
getting to know each other.
right?
Yeah, so it is amazing. And those two books in general, I remember reading those and what an impact they made for me. And Atomic Habits is about the small things that we do and how they like really
Yes.
make a big epic change. And I remember one of the trainings on above the line, below the line, and it's always, yeah, it's a very accessible concept that you can just quickly check in with yourself. So thank you for sharing those with our, and we'll put them the note in the note section. I'll make sure I put
Yes.
those down. So if you're wanting to get those
I
resources.
like I like practical. You know what I mean? Like, give me some bullet points here. I don't know if anybody else is like that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm an audiobook and then I might get the
Yes,
Kindle and then listen along. I do the
yes,
same thing.
yes,
And yeah, I like I want to read books that are going to teach me a tool. They're going to like
yes.
I love stories, but like give me the practical advice to make these shifts. That's what I want. I want that tangible outcome. Where can I move from that? So I love that you share those books because I think they'll be very powerful for our listeners. So before we finish up today, if there was anything burning on your heart that you were like, oh, I wish I would have shared this. This is what I want to share. I'd love for you to share now and also let people know how they can connect with you and find out more about what you do, either just for their personal or their professional.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I wish I would have learned earlier in my life, and if I could share anything with you, and this is very simple. Everything you want is acquirable by developing and identifying and developing skills. We have to take the emotion like, well, I'm not good at that. Again, check your language. But I think, identifying what area you want to grow in is so much more powerful than just, I mean, I don't know about you, but I was a wallower for sure in self-pity and misery and all those things because this wasn't happening and that wasn't happening. And if you kind of identify with that, it's okay. There's hope, ladies. So identify what skills that you feel like would best benefit you in the moment. So many people say, read this book, read this book. But is that the skill you're wanting to acquire? Don't overwhelm yourself just because somebody said to do that. That's also another skill because everybody's read this book, read this book, read this book. Does that go along with what I'm trying to accomplish right now? Is that going to help me in this moment? I'm sure it's a great book, but is it going to help me? And so if you're working on building a business, in whatever field or area, just know that it's okay. Take the emotion out, and realize like there's a skill deficit, and I can learn that. Like I can learn anything, right? I think that's the most powerful thing you can say to yourself. I have the ability to learn whatever I need, and if I don't have it now, I will learn it. I think I decided that forever I wanted to speak Spanish, right? I did French in high school and Spanish in college. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But I decided this last 2 years ago that I'm going to be multilingual. I've got time, right? Like all I have is time, right? So if I spend 10 minutes a day on it, I'm going to master Spanish and then I'm going to move on to Italian and then I'm going to move on to, it's all learnable. And so if I can encourage you with anything, that would be it. And so you can find me on Andrea Allen on Facebook. And I know that's super generic. I need to change that. And that's what Holly would encourage me to do. You should reach out to her because she's super great at all that stuff and so fluid in changing things. And I'm like, oh no, nobody will be able to find me. That is not true. I know it. It's a lie I have in the back of my head I'm working on. And then on Instagram, Healthier You and Me 13, because that's a family number. So you can find me on there. I have links to different things in my bio on there. And I would love to connect with you and hear your story, what you're wanting to create, whether it's with me or not with me. I just love hearing people's story and connecting with people. So I would love to hear your story.
Love that. Thank you so much for being on today and sharing this wealth of knowledge and inspiration for our listeners. And listeners, thank you for being here. If you have questions, feel free to put it in our in the bio or the links that you're watching in the comments, so then we can come back and address those. And you'll also find all the information to connect with Andrea in the show notes as well. So we'll close it up saying, keep unlocking your potential with the Whoa Factor, and we will be back soon. Bye.